Open WOW Designer to see some of the programs that we are going to convert. Open the project Hello World. It is a very simple program with just one form and a couple of controls. The click event of the button contains some code to terminate the program. The close event of the form contains the same code. Other events contain no code. The project properties contains two forms and some controls. As you can see, the create event of the form contains some initializations. And the get focus event contains just a display statement that will be sent to the console window. Also, the get focus event of the smaller form contains a display statement. By clicking the hide form button, this code will be executed. Let's close the WOW Designer and do the conversion to Visual Cobol. I simply add the WPJ files to the converter. There are no additional RM programs to include in the Visual Cobol solution. But I know that the samples look for the copybooks in the RM Cobol directory. Therefore, I add that directory to the list. I leave the font substitution list unchanged. WinForm fonts matching the WPF font will be left unchanged. The others will be changed to the Global User Interface font. Select the main program. It will be started when the launcher is run with no arguments. Enter the license string, set the source format to fixed, and leave the rest unchanged. Now we can start converting. We can see the progress in the log window. The conversion is finished. We can finally open Visual Cobol for Visual Studio and see the result of the conversion. A directory WOW Samples has been created. Samples Loader contains a small program used to configure and launch the application. Here you can see the name of the main program that I selected in the conversion options. The sample screens contain one directory for each WPJ project. Each directory contains one XAML file for each WOW form found in the WPJ project. Here you can see the Hello World form. And here, the forms in the Properties project. Forms used in more than one WPJ will be created at root level to avoid duplications. The Samples project contains all the Cobol source code. Again, you will find one directory for each WPJ project. The CBL contains the Cobol code needed to show the form or the forms. The WWS contains the definitions of the variables, and the WPR contains the event code. Everything is left unchanged. The logic of your programs does not change at all. And now we compile and run the solution. Ladies and gentlemen, hello world. By changing the command line arguments, we can run a different program. For example, properties. Run again. And we see the properties program. This button will show the console window. Let's play with the buttons to make sure that everything works as expected. Good. Everything works. Now, you may want to change the converted programs. One of the first advantages is that your application can adapt itself to the current screen resolution. What the program needs to know is just the ideal resolution for your application. In this case, the samples were at their best at 800 by 600. All we have to do is add this line to configure the application. Run again. As you can see, the window now fills all the available vertical space. At higher resolutions, you won't need to change anything. All the vertical available space will be used. What if we want to add another button? Just open the window you want to change. Select one of the controls provided and set some properties. As you can see, the event code is still unchanged. Let's add the click event and jump to the code attached. Now, the WPR contains the entry for the click event of your button. Let's add a display just to have proof that it has actually been executed. The variables are still unchanged. When you are done with the changes to the user interface, click the Generate WOW source code, and everything is updated. Run the program. And the new button is there. Let's make the console window visible. Click the button and the text appears. The Code Assistant is also useful for jumping to the code of the menu events. Just select a menu, and the menu structure will be available. This is the code attached to the red menu item. Of course, the program can be launched from a command prompt or a Windows shortcut. Just add the name of the program after the name of the executable and it will run. This is the program we have just seen in the IDE. The debugger is another great feature of Visual Cobol for Visual Studio. Let's change the command line parameter to WOW calc. Open the source code. Of course, you can jump here from the window designer. Select a line and add a breakpoint. You can also go to the paragraph with the context menu. This is the code of the button 3. Run the program. Click some buttons. When the breakpoint is hit, the execution is paused and you can easily debug your program. The last program is very important because it shows that the converted programs will be able to use the printer just like before. Run the Easy Menu program and print a report. As you can see, the default printer is used. In this case, the bullzip PDF printer. The list comes from a sample indexed file created by this program. We can add a record and print the report again. As you can see, the new record is there. Thank you for watching.